I'm Sarah, 42, a corporate lawyer in Chicago, pulling in money like it's water. Penthouse downtown, sleek Mercedes in the garage, designer bags stacked in my closet. Name it, I've got it. My husband, Mark, 45, is a university lecturer, always acting like he's got the world's wisdom tucked in his tweed jacket. But deep down, he's just a guy bored with his own life. Our son, Ryan, 18, is off at college, living that free spirit vibe that sometimes makes me wonder if I raised him too loosely. From the outside, my life looks like a damn postcard. Gorgeous home, thriving career, husband and kid in tow. But here's the thing, ladies. Us women, we think we've got it all locked down. Every piece in place until life slaps you hard across the face and you're left picking up the pieces. I used to think I had it all figured out. Back in the day, I was unstoppable. I'd be in the office till midnight, closing deals, making partners sweat, all while keeping the house running and Ryan fed. Mark? He was the supportive type, or so I thought. I'd come home exhausted and he'd have a glass of wine waiting, maybe some takeout from that Italian place I loved. "You're killing it, Sarah," he'd say, and I'd eat it up, thinking we were a team. Our wedding day still plays in my head like a cheesy rom-com. It was June, the air warm and thick with lilacs. I wore a simple ivory dress, nothing too fussy, and Mark looked at me like I was the only woman on earth. He read me a poem he wrote, corny, sure, but it made my heart flip. "Forever, Sarah," he said, and I believed him. God, I was naive. Those early years were sweet, or maybe I just painted them that way in my head. Mark would surprise me with flowers for no reason, little daisies he'd pick up from the market. We'd stay up late talking about nothing, politics, books, whether we'd ever leave Chicago. I was grinding, building my career, clawing my way up to partner at the firm. The money started rolling in, and soon we had the house, a 4-bedroom beauty in Lincoln Park with a backyard Ryan could run wild in. I bought Mark his dream car, a vintage Mustang he'd always yammered on about. I thought I was doing it all right, you know? Superwoman. Making bank, keeping my man happy, raising a kid who wasn't a total screw-up. But here's the kicker. Even superheroes get stabbed in the back when they are not looking. I should have seen the cracks sooner, but I was too busy playing the perfect wife. Mark started getting distant. He'd come home late, claiming department meetings or grading papers. I'd ask how his day was, and he'd just grunt, eyes glued to his phone. At first, I chalked it up to stress. Lecturing isn't exactly a walk in the park, and he was always whining about budget cuts or lazy students. "He's just tired," I told myself. "Give him space, Sarah." But deep down, something gnawed at me. The way he'd angle his phone away when he typed, or how he'd snap if I asked who he was texting. Little things, but they piled up like bricks, building a wall I couldn't ignore. Ladies, let me tell you something. Men, when you give them everything, they start thinking you're a doormat. Mark wasn't just bored with his job. He was bored with me, with our life, with the home I'd busted my ass to build. And me? I was dumb enough to think it was temporary, that I could fix it with a nice dinner or a weekend getaway. I'd cook his favorite steak, light candles, put on that red dress he loved. He'd smile, but it was hollow, like he was humoring me. I kept telling myself, he's just going through something. Be patient. Patient. Ha! If I'd known what was coming, I'd have thrown that steak in his face and told him to choke on it. Looking back, I see it clear as day. The late nights, the locked phone, the way he'd flinch when I touched him. It wasn't stress, it was guilt. He was slipping away, and I was too busy signing contracts and changing diapers to notice. I thought I was holding it all together, but the truth? My perfect life was a house of cards, and Mark was about to pull the one card that'd bring it all crashing down. I wasn't ready for the slap life was about to deliver, but damn, it was coming, and it was gonna sting. I remember one night, maybe a month before everything went to hell, I was in bed, scrolling through case files, and Mark was downstairs, working. I heard him laugh, a real laugh, not the fake chuckle he gave me lately. I crept to the stairs, quiet as a mouse, and saw him on the couch, phone in hand, grinning like a kid. My stomach twisted. Who the hell was making him smile like that? I wanted to storm down, snatch that phone, and demand answers, but I didn't. I went back to bed, pulled the covers over my head, and told myself I was being paranoid. You're overthinking, Sarah, I whispered. He loves you. He's not that guy. Oh, but he was. And I was about to learn it the hard way. Ladies, don't make my mistake. When your gut screams something's off, listen. I spent years building this life, thinking I was untouchable. I had the career, the house, the family, everything I was supposed to want. But life doesn't care about your plans. It'll blindside you, leave you gasping, wondering where you went wrong. And Mark? He was the first crack in my perfect little world, the one I never saw coming. I thought I was in control, but control's an illusion, and I was about to get schooled. Hard. I'll never forget that night. It was a Tuesday, rain tapping the windows of our Lincoln Park house, the kind of evening where you just want to curl up with a glass of wine and pretend the world's not falling apart. I was in the kitchen chopping vegetables for dinner, trying to act like everything was fine, even though Mark's late nights and locked phone were eating me alive. Then he walked in, Ryan trailing behind him like a puppy, both of them with this weird energy, like they'd rehearsed something. Mark sat at the counter, cleared his throat, and said, "Sarah, we need to talk." My stomach dropped. Ladies, when a man starts a sentence like that, brace yourself. It's never good. Ryan plopped down next to him, smirking like he was in on some big secret. Mark leaned forward, all serious, and hit me with it. "Sarah, what if we tried an open marriage? You know, we still love each other, but we're free to explore new emotions, new experiences." I froze, knife in hand, carrots half chopped, staring at him like he'd just suggested we rob a bank. Ryan, my own kid, chimed in, nodding like a bobblehead. "Yeah, Mom, it's modern. Everyone's doing it. It's like freedom." Freedom? I felt like I'd been doused with ice water. My husband and my son, sitting there, casually pitching me on letting Mark sleep around while smiled and clapped. I wanted to scream, to slap them both silly, to throw the damn knife across the room and watch it stick in the wall. I stood there, heart pounding, looking at Mark's smug face, his "this is so reasonable, Professor" vibe, and Ryan's clueless grin. All I could think was, I've been killing myself for you two. I've worked my ass off, paid for this house, your tuition, your stupid Mustang, and now you want to treat me like a fool? The betrayal hit me like a freight train. My husband wasn't just bored. He wanted a free pass to chase other women. And my son? My baby boy, who I'd raised to respect me, was cheering him on like this was some cool new trend. I felt like the ground had vanished beneath me, like I was falling and there was no one to catch me. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Crying's for suckers, and I wasn't about to let them see me break. Instead, I put the knife down, wiped my hands on a towel, and forced a smile that felt like it had cracked my face. "Okay," I said, voice steady as steel. "Interesting idea. Let's make it official." Mark blinked, confused, but I was already moving. I grabbed my laptop, pulled up a document I'd drafted months ago. A prenup amendment, something I'd made as a just in case, when I started noticing his shady behavior. It was brutal. If we divorced because of infidelity or this open marriage nonsense, Mark got nothing. No house, no savings, no alimony. Zilch. I slid the laptop toward him. "Sign this first," I said, sweet as poison. "You know, to keep things fair." Mark laughed, thinking I was joking. Ryan rolled his eyes like I was being dramatic. But I just stared, unblinking, until Mark's smirk faded. He read the document, his face tightening, but he signed it. Probably thought I'd never follow through. Oh, honey, you have no idea who you're messing with. I saved the file, closed the laptop, and said, "Great, now let's eat." Dinner was silent, the kind of quiet that screams louder than words. I chewed my food, but it tasted like ash. Inside, I was raging, humiliated, plotting. They thought they could play me? Fine, let's play. Ladies, picture this. Your husband, the man you've built a life with, looks you in the eye and says he wants to sleep with other women. And your kid, the one you carried for 9 months, thinks it's modern. I wanted to curl up and sob, to scream at the universe for being so unfair. But tears? Those are for people who lose. And Sarah doesn't lose. I sat there replaying every sacrifice I'd made, every late night at the firm, every dollar I'd poured into this family, every time I'd bitten my tongue to keep the peace. And for what? So they could treat me like a doormat? Hell no. I wasn't going down like that. That night, I lay in bed, Mark snoring beside me like nothing had happened. I stared at the ceiling and my mind racing. You think you're slick, Mark, I thought. You think you can have your cake and eat it too. But I'm not your damn bakery. I wasn't sure what I'd do next, but one thing was crystal clear. I wasn't going to sit back and let him humiliate me. If he wanted to explore, I'd make sure he regretted it. And Ryan? My heart ached thinking about him, but he'd picked a side, and it wasn't mine. I'd deal with him later. I kept up the act for days, smiling, cooking, asking Mark about his classes like I hadn't just been gutted. But inside, I was a storm. Every time he touched me, I flinched. Every time Ryan called me Mom, it felt like a jab. I started watching Mark closer, his phone, his schedule, the way he'd leave the room to take calls. I wasn't paranoid, I was awake. And the more I watched, the more I saw. He was already acting like a man with a secret, and I was done being the clueless wife. You want to play this game, Mark? I thought, pouring my coffee each morning. I'll play. And I play to win. Ladies, don't ever let a man make you feel small. Mark thought he could drop this bomb, and I'd just nod along, grateful for his honesty. Ryan thought he could side with his dad, and I'd still pay his phone bill. They both thought I was soft, predictable, the good little wife who'd take it and keep smiling. But they forgot who I am. I'm Sarah, the woman who built an empire in a man's world, who fought for every inch of this life. If Mark wanted to open our marriage, I'd open it wide, wide enough to burn his whole world down. Let's see who's laughing when I'm done. I promised myself, and I meant it. Mark didn't waste a single second. Barely a week after he signed that prenup amendment, he was strutting around like a peacock, all smug and shiny. I knew something was up the moment he started going to yoga 3 times a week. Yoga my ass. Mark, with his beer gut and bad knees, suddenly cared about downward dog? Please. Then I saw her, Olivia, the yoga instructor. She was everything I wasn't. Mid-30s, perky, with a yoga-toned butt and a face that screamed, I'm here to steal your man. Mark was glued to her. I caught him at the studio once, picking her up, grinning like a teenager. He'd text her at all hours, chuckling at his phone like some lovesick fool. And Ryan, my darling son, thought it was awesome. Dad's so cool now, he'd say, like Mark was some rock star instead of a cheating dirtbag. I wanted to puke, but I held it together. I had a plan, and it was going to be a masterpiece. Ladies, you ever feel that mix of rage and heartbreak that makes you want to burn the world down? That was me, watching Mark prance around with Olivia, thinking he'd won. But I wasn't about to sit in a corner and cry. Hell no. If Mark wanted to play dirty, I'd show him how it's done. Enter Daniel, Olivia's son, 25, personal trainer, and built like a Greek god. I met him at a charity gala, all chiseled jaw and easy charm. He was there with his mom, and when I saw Olivia hanging on Mark's arm, I thought, 2 can play this game. I walked right up to Daniel, flashed my best smile, and started chatting. By the end of the night, we were laughing over champagne, and I knew I had him hooked. Want to grab dinner sometime? I asked, casual as hell. His eyes lit up. Hell yeah, he said. And just like that, I was in. I didn't just date Daniel. I made a damn show of it. I brought him to every fancy event in Chicago, introducing him as my friend with a wink. My girlfriends were floored. Sarah, you're a badass, they'd whisper, sneaking glances at Daniel's biceps. I'd laugh, toss my hair, and sip my martini, but inside I was a mess. Every time I saw Mark's face, green with jealousy, jaw clenched, I felt a twisted mix of triumph and pain. He'd corner me at home, his voice low. This needs to stop, Sarah. You're embarrassing me. Embarrassing him? I laughed in his face. You opened the door, Mark. I'm just walking through it. Don't like it. Too bad. I'd strut away, heels clicking, but my heart was heavy. This wasn't me. I didn't want to play these games, but I'd be damned if I let Mark think he could humiliate me and walk away clean. Then there was Ryan. God, that kid broke my heart. He'd sided with his dad, acting like Mark's midlife crisis was some noble quest for freedom. Every time he'd praise Mark, "Dad's killing it." It was like a knife in my gut. I'd raised him, paid for his school, his clothes, his whole damn life, and now he was Team Mark? Enough was enough. One morning, I sat him down, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "Ryan, you're cut off. No more tuition, no more allowance. You're 18. Figure it out. Or ask your cool dad to foot the bill." His jaw dropped. "Mom, what? Why?" he stammered. "Because I don't bankroll traitors," I snapped. "You want to back your dad? Fine. But don't expect me to pay for it." He stormed out, but I didn't budge. Tough love, baby. He needed to learn. Ladies, let me be real. I'm no saint. This whole revenge thing, it felt good, but it hurt like hell too. Every time I laughed with Daniel, I'd catch myself wondering what happened to my life. I'd built this perfect world, career, family, home, and now I was playing tit for tat with my husband and cutting off my own kid. At night, I'd lie awake, Daniel's arm around me, and think, is this what I've become? But then I'd remember Mark's smirk, Ryan's betrayal, and I'd grit my teeth. "You're not losing, Sarah," I'd whisper to myself. "You're not some pathetic wife who cries and begs. You're fighting." And fight I did. Daniel was a surprise, though. He wasn't just a pawn in my game. He was sweet, attentive. Nothing like Mark's fake charm. He'd listen when I talked, really listen, and he didn't care that I was older. "You're a force, Sarah," he'd say, and I'd feel a spark I hadn't felt in years. But even with him, I was guarded. Trust? That was a luxury I couldn't afford anymore. Still, I let myself enjoy it. The dinners, the late-night talks, the way heads turned when we walked into a room. Mark hated it, and that was the point. He'd started this war, but I was rewriting the rules. I kept tabs on Mark's little fling, too. Olivia was all over him, but I could see the cracks. She was young, restless, not the type to stick with a washed-up professor. I'd smile to myself, knowing his fantasy was on borrowed time. Meanwhile, I was thriving. At work, I was closing bigger deals than ever. And with Daniel, I was untouchable. But don't get it twisted. I wasn't happy. I was surviving. Every step I took was a middle finger to Mark, but it came at a cost. My heart was bruised, my family fractured. "You're doing this for you," I'd tell myself, staring in the mirror. "Not for them, for you." Ladies, when life kicks you down, you don't stay down. You get up, dust off, and hit back harder. Mark thought he could rewrite our marriage without consequences. Ryan thought he could side with his dad and keep his cushy life. They both underestimated me. I wasn't just playing their game, I was changing the board, and I was far from done. "You want to fight, Mark?" I thought, watching him squirm. "I'll give you one you'll never forget." Game on. Mark's house of cards came tumbling down faster than I expected. His fling with Olivia, that yoga goddess with the perfect ponytail, fizzled out in spectacular fashion. Turns out, she wasn't looking for a long-term lease on a middle-aged professor with a receding hairline. She got bored, or maybe she found someone with deeper pockets. Either way, she kicked him to the curb like yesterday's trash. I heard about it through the grapevine, my girlfriends whispering over wine at our weekly catch-up. "Olivia dumped him, Sarah. He's a mess," they said, eyes wide with gossip. I didn't even blink. "Good," I replied, sipping my Pinot. "Let him rot." But the real kicker? Mark didn't just lose his side chick. He picked up a nasty little souvenir from his adventures. A trip to the clinic confirmed it, a disease that had him popping pills in W cafeteria. His health was shot, and his precious academic career was circling the drain. "Deserves it," I muttered when I heard. "Karma's a bitch, Mark." Ryan, meanwhile, was learning life's hard lessons the way I intended. After I cut him off, no more tuition, no more allowance. He was forced to fend for himself. My boy, who once thought his dad was so cool, was now slinging coffee at a local shop and picking up delivery gigs to cover his bills. He looked tired when I saw him last, bags under his eyes, his usual cocky grin gone. Part of me wanted to hug him, to tell him it'd be okay, but I held back. He'd betrayed me, sided with his dad like I was the bad guy. That hurt deeper than Mark's nonsense. One night, he texted me, "Mom, I'm sorry, I messed up." I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the reply button. "Not enough," I typed back. "Learn to be a man first, then we'll talk." Harsh, maybe, but he needed to grow up and I wasn't about to make it easy. While Mark and Ryan were drowning, I was building a new life. Daniel, that gorgeous 25-year-old trainer, wasn't just a fling to piss off Mark. He turned out to be the real deal. He was young, sure, but he had a heart that Mark could never match. We clicked in ways I hadn't thought possible anymore. Late night talks over takeout, laughing until my sides hurt, planning a future that didn't include my ex's shadow. When I found out I could still have a kid through IVF, we went for it. Now I've got Lily, my little miracle, 6 months old and already stealing my heart. Holding her, I feel something I hadn't in years, peace. "You're my fresh start, baby girl," I whisper to her at night, kissing her tiny forehead. I filed for divorce the second I had enough dirt on Mark. That prenup amendment he signed? Ironclad. He walked away with nothing. No house, no savings, not a dime of my hard-earned money. The look on his face when the papers came through, pure defeat, was worth every sleepless night I'd endured. "You played dirty, Mark," I said when we met to sign. "Now you're out." He didn't even argue, just slunk away like a kicked dog. My career? Still on fire. I'm closing bigger deals than ever. My name's on every power list in Chicago, and I'm doing it all while raising Lily and loving Daniel. Mark's a footnote now. A cautionary tale I'll tell my daughter one day. "Don't ever let a man drag you down, Lily," I'll say. "You're stronger than that." Ladies, men like Mark think they're slick, but they're just fools in fancy jackets. They'll promise you the moon, then trade it for a cheap thrill. I gave him everything, my heart, my hustle, my years, and he thought he could toss it aside for a yoga bimbo. Big mistake. I didn't just survive his betrayal, I thrived. My new life with Daniel and Lily is better than anything Mark could have given me. He's out there, broke and broken, while I'm living proof you can rise from the ashes and shine brighter than ever. Screw you, Mark, I think every time I look at my daughter's smile. I won. Ryan's still out there, scraping by, and I'm keeping an eye on him from a distance. He's learning, slowly, what it means to stand on his own. Part of me hopes he'll come back one day, not as the kid who stabbed me in the back, but as a man who gets it. Until then, I'm done carrying him. "You made your bed, kid," I told him last time we spoke. "Lie in it." Maybe one day he'll earn his way back into my life, but that's on him, not me. Daniel's been my rock through all this. He's not just arm candy, he's steady, kind, the kind of man who shows up when it counts. We're planning our system. I'm not perfect, but I'm damn proud of how far I've come. Mark's downfall, Ryan's reality check, my new family, it's all proof that you can't keep a strong woman down. This is my story, ladies. I'd tell anyone who listens. Don't let some loser define you. Grab the reins, protect your money, and build a life that makes you untouchable. Chicago's my city now, Lily's my heart, and Daniel's my partner in every sense. Mark? He's nothing but a bad memory, a lesson I learned the hard way. Trust yourself, not some man who thinks he's smarter than you. Never again, I swear, every time I look at my reflection. Sarah doesn't lose. I'm sitting in my new office, a corner suite with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Chicago's skyline. Lily's asleep in her crib by the couch, her tiny chest rising and falling, and Daniel's out grabbing us coffee. The divorce is final, my bank account's untouched, and Mark's a ghost in my rearview mirror. I'm 42, a corporate lawyer who's still kicking ass, a mom to a perfect little girl, and a woman who's finally learned what matters. I used to think marriage was the whole game. Build a life with a man, keep the family tight, and you've won. Ha! Life taught me better. It's just you, Sarah, I tell myself, staring at the city lights. You're the one who saves you. Mark wanted his spice, and I gave him a whole jar of pepper, enough to choke on. Now I'm living for me, for Lily, for Daniel, and nobody's ever gonna drag me down again. Looking back, I see it all so clearly. Uh, I spent years pouring my soul into that marriage, thinking it was my fortress. Mark was my partner, my forever, or so I thought. I'd come home from 16-hour days, still in my heels, and cook dinner, check Ryan's homework, listen to Mark drone on about his students. I thought I was bulletproof, superwoman with a briefcase and a smile. But when Mark dropped that open marriage bomb, it wasn't just a betrayal, it was a wake-up call. "You're not invincible, Sarah," life screamed, "but you're tougher than you know." I could have crumbled, let the hurt swallow me whole. Instead, I fought, I clawed my way out, rebuilt my world, and came out stronger. Never again, I promised myself. No man's worth your tears. Ladies, here's the truth. And men like Mark, they'll sweet talk you, make you think you're their everything, then turn around and treat you like dirt. When he pushed for that open marriage, backed by our own son, I saw his real face. Selfish, weak, a coward, chasing cheap thrills. And Ryan? God, that one stung. My boy, my heart, cheering for his dad like I was some outdated relic. It broke me, but it also lit a fire. You don't get to define me, I told myself. Not Mark, not Ryan, not anyone. So I played their game, but on my terms. I outsmarted Mark with that prenup, showed Ryan what consequences feel like, and found a new life with Daniel and Lily. You thought you'd break me? I'd laugh if I could face Mark now. Look at me, I'm untouchable. The biggest lesson? Trust yourself, not fairy tales. I used to believe in happily ever after, in vows that meant something. Bullshit. Love's not a contract, it's a gamble, and the house always wins unless you're holding the right cards. For me, those cards were my brain, my bank account, and a damn good lawyer. When Mark tried to open our marriage, I didn't beg or cry. I got sharp, pulled out the legal knives, and protected what was mine. Miss Several Sisters, listen up, I'd tell any woman who'll hear me. If your man wants to explore, let him, but keep your eyes open and your wallet locked. Believe in the law, your money, and your own strength, not some fantasy about eternal love. That's what kept me standing when the ground fell away. Ryan's still out there, scraping by, and I'm watching from a distance. His texts come more often now, full of apologies, promises to do better. "Mom, I was wrong. I miss you," he wrote last week. I read it, felt a pang, but didn't reply. Not yet. He's got to earn it, prove he's not just sorry because life's hard. Grow up, kid, I think, picturing him hustling at that coffee shop. Show me you get it. One day, maybe we'll sit down, talk like adults, rebuild what's left. But that's his work, not mine. I've got Lily to raise, a career to dominate, and a man who actually respects me. Daniel's been my anchor, more than I ever expected. He's not just a pretty face, he's solid, the kind of guy who shows up when the world's on fire. We're planning a trip next month, just the three of us, somewhere warm where Lily can feel sand between her toes. "You're my home, Sarah," he said last night, kissing my forehead. I smiled, but deep down, I know the truth. I'm my own home. Daniel and Lily are my joy, but my strength, that's all me. I don't need saving, I told him once, half joking. He laughed. Good, I'm just here for the ride. And that's enough. Chicago's still my city, buzzing with deals to close and battles to win. My name's on every power list, my office a testament to everything I've fought for. But it's Lily's giggle, Daniel's steady hand, that keeps me grounded. This is happiness, I realize, watching the sunset paint the skyline gold. Not because of them, but because I didn't let Mark's betrayal define me. I took the hit, got back up, and built something better. Sarah doesn't lose, I whisper, cradling Lily as she stirs. Not to life, not to anyone. Ladies, don't ever let a man or anyone make you feel small. Mark thought he could rewrite our story, leave me in the dust. Ryan thought he could side with his dad and keep my love on tap. They were wrong. I'm not just standing, I'm soaring. Life's tough, I'd tell you over coffee, but you're tougher. Don't wait for permission to fight back. Take what's yours, protect your heart, and never look back. I'm living proof you can lose it all and still win. Here's to me, I think, raising an imaginary glass, and to every woman who refuses to break.